Bien, empezamos puntualmente.
We are going to start because we have a long workshop today with the results of the project. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us in this final day of the project, which has been recognized, awarded, in which we have been working since 2017 for 5 years with the pandemic in the middle, but it is about something that concerns all of us, which is marine litter. The bad management of the waste we generate leads to all the litter going to the sea where it degrades and we end up eating it. So it is something we should be concerned about. In this project for 5 years, we will be dealing with all the tools that have been designed, all the tools that have been designed, very good ones, all the methodologies, all the lessons learned, and the need to continue because this is a very important problem that concerns the entire society. So dissemination is also very important. It's going to take a lot of time for everybody to understand that this is a problem. Given that we have a lot of experts today, I just want to thank you all for being here, also the people who are online, and thank you all of you who have been working in the project, partners, technicians. We have developed a very good work, so thank you very much for your involvement and your work. And also thanks to all of you who are going to be speaking today. And I would like to thank also the Marine Resources area. I know it's less resources and more problems now, coordinated by Marisa, who are always working a lot for this workshop to be successful. So we are going to start the workshop and make the most of it and try to prevent any delays because we have a lot of speakers today and it's very interesting. So, Marisa, you have the floor, and thank you very much to all of you. Good morning. Paloma, thank you very much for your kind words. It is a pleasure to be here today. I'm very happy at this final conference of the project. We are a family here because we have been working together for 5 years and we have created a family. And apart from the outcomes that we have achieved that will be shared today, we have created a solid and a strong, powerful network that will keep working after the project. So I'm going to start. You know that I'm going to speak in English if you don't mind because my presentation is in English.
We tackle marine litter. That is a global and transnational environmental issue that has become the target of international and national frameworks, dedicated legislation that is in the political agendas, in the scientific agenda, and that comes from many causes. Okay, the growth of the population, the consumption habits, a wide overuse of plastics, especially single-use plastics, and associated to all these issues, it comes from an insufficient or inadequate waste management. So this has led to an average of around 8 million tons of plastic waste reaching our ocean, most from land-based sources, but this is something that is very dependent on the geographical areas, as we discussed yesterday in our meeting, and that is causing multiple effects. So ecological and economic impacts, also maritime safety issues, and there is also a growing concern regarding the effects on human health of microplastics reaching through the food chain. So how can we tackle marine litter? So this is clearly something that should be approached through a multi-sectorial approach. So we have to involve all the stakeholders, I mean the governmental agencies, the policymakers, the academy, of course the industry, all the value chain, NGOs, and of course the civil society. And this is something that also have to be approached through a multidisciplinary approach, involving a wide range of knowledge and technology, and tackling on the first line prevention. This is a critical issue to fight against this problem, but also covering a number of aspects. I mean, monitoring, modeling, how to clean, how to retrieve marine litter, circular economy principles, and with awareness raising being a key issue in tackling the problem. So this is a global issue that requires global but also local actions, and that can benefit a lot from the interregional cooperation. Okay, so in this framework, the Atlantic Area Program, we are really grateful with this program, gave us a unique opportunity to tackle the issue through regional collaboration, and has been funding this project, CleanAtlantic, with the aim of improving our knowledge and our capabilities to prevent, to monitor, and to reduce marine litter, and also to raise awareness on coastal communities. So, as I mentioned, it has been a very long way of collaboration. We have been working for almost 6 years, because we had the pandemic, we have extension, we have that great call for extension that allowed us to keep on working. So we started in September in 2017, and we will be ending the project at the end of this month. Although we have great expectation of keeping the network alive. So you can see the budget is 4 million and almost 200,000 euros. And we have a great partnership, with very complementary organizations with a very long tradition of working together. And we were lucky to have as associated partners key organizations. I mean the ministries of the member states participating with environmental responsibilities. We had OSPAR, and they have helped us to keep all the working lines aligned with the real priorities of the member states and also the Commission. Okay? And the partners belong to the 5 countries of the Atlantic area. Okay, so a very quick picture of the project. We have been working in different working streams, but very complementary. So we have tried to make the best use of existing data, information, and knowledge, and the results of a very comprehensive compilation and analysis exercise has led to very interesting outcomes. So we have produced data assessment of marine litter in different compartments, on seafloor, floating litter, on beach litter, and they have been transferred to technical reports and publications, and this data is also available through an interactive online map that is in our website. And in terms of compiling knowledge and compiling good practices and initiatives, we have developed through 2 very user-friendly online products. So we have developed the initiatives and measure platforms, and you will hear about it today. And we have also developed what we call the CleanAtlantic Knowledge Tool, where you can have access to a number of projects and associated results that have been classified by areas of knowledge. So it's a way of making the best use of the knowledge. And moreover, in the second phase of this project, we have developed what we call the policy toolkit that will be presented today, where you can find very nice guidelines for local and regional authorities to make the best use of project results. Okay, so we have also worked on improving monitoring and data management, And as a result of this work, we have developed useful tools, software, interface for data management, again, for data coming from the different marine compartments. And we have also developed apps for record marine litter from the different compartments, 3 apps. And you will hear about them today. And we could also deliver tools, guidelines, protocols, and indicators to support monitoring programs. So we think that they can be really useful for those in charge of monitoring tasks. So we could also explore which are the risks and the impacts of marine litter. And we work on increasing our knowledge on specific items that are very relevant. So you will hear today about the harm caused by cotton buds and cigarette butts. We also had the chance of studying which is the role of marine litter as acting as a non-indigenous species vector, and today we will have a very nice talk about this. And we have also worked on exploring which is the economic impact of marine litter in different sectors, such as tourism, fisheries, shell fisheries, and aquaculture. Okay, modeling, we love modeling. We love our modelers. So we worked on how the marine litter is transported. So thanks to the work of our colleagues, a modeling tool has been developed, and also a very useful methodology to deliver maps of hot spots at different geographical levels, and to deliver maps showing the influence of river and ocean sources. And these results are now available through a user-friendly web platform. And in this phase, we have also worked on including new parameters to improve the models, such as biofouling. And we could also work on studying which is the relationship between meteorological conditions and accumulation areas by using computational techniques. So we will have a very nice talk about this today. So, of course, we have worked also on prevention and reduction, and we tackle fishing for litter schemes, derelict fishing gears, the management of waste incidentally fished, the fishing gears life cycle. And what we did was to compile and develop best practices. We developed pilot actions, case studies, and a central hub that is compiling information from different fishing for litter projects, so you will hear about it today. And we could also improve our knowledge on how to clean beaches and how to clean port litter. And last but not least, of course, we have worked a lot on awareness raising, and we have developed very nice materials, very nice actions that can be adapted, that can be used by others in trying to increase the knowledge and the awareness on this issue. So this is more or less the working stream. So as a result of this huge work, we have developed more than 90 outcomes that are currently, most of them are available in our website, and you have different formats. But of course, we have reports, papers, we have these online products, software, we have tools, protocols, the model, case studies, and awareness materials. But what is very important, I was saying at the very beginning, we have created the basis of a very strong network that is willing to keep alive and to keep working on this issue beyond the lifetime of CleanAtlantic. So in trying to have a lot of impact, capitalization activities have been crucial for the project, and for that we have tried to use key channels and key multipliers. So we have worked in a strong interaction with OSPAR Commission, in strong interaction with the competent authorities of the member states, also with the CRPM that has been crucial in capitalization, with CHEMO. We also interacted with the Global Partnership of Marine Litter of the UNEP. And of course, we have also created a relationship with the Pillar 4 of the Atlantic Action Plan and the Ocean Pollution Working Group of the Atlantic Art Commission. So the future, well, we have the willingness and the determination of keeping and widening the network we have created. So as a result of this wish, we have submitted a new proposal to the Atlantic Area Program in the last call. So we have our finger crossed. So it will be great if we can continue this work, because there are a lot of gaps still to tackle the the issue. But if not, we have the willingness to keep the network, to keep knowledge transfer activities, capitalization, and to explore new funding opportunities to keep the network going and to continue tackling this problem. So just to end my presentation, I would like to invite you to visit our website, because we have all that legacy there, so you can access results, maps, online products, and whatever you are interested in. So that's all from my side. So thank you very much, and well, very happy to be here at the end. Okay. So now I think that we're going to start with the important presentations. So the first session deals with those online information resources I was speaking about, and I'm very happy to introduce my colleague Raquel Diez, that has been working really very hard in developing what we call the CleanAtlantic Knowledge Tool, in collaboration also with the CRPM and the partners. So Raquel, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Marisa.
Thank you very much, Marisa. I'm going to speak in Spanish. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us today in this final conference after this hard work for so many years of collaboration. And I'm going to present the work we have developed at CETMAR. How does this work? So I'm going to present the CleanAtlantic Knowledge Tool, which is a database we have developed at CETMAR with the support of the entire consortium, all the partners of CleanAtlantic, and especially with the support of our partners of CRPM, who had helped us a lot. It is an online database. It is open, public. It doesn't require any registration. So it is open for anybody who wants to learn more about our work. As you know, the context of this database, well, there is a huge universe of information about marine litter. There is a huge number of projects at European and national level, at international level. And they work on marine litter. And there are more and more financing programs that allocate part of the funds to finance these projects, to progress on the knowledge about this environmental program. And there are more and more organizations working on environmental issues, marine pollution, and they allocate more and more efforts to study marine litter and the development of products and results, useful outcomes that contribute to knowledge about this problem. These organizations have developed different resources like reports, scientific publications, multimedia materials, so there is a lot of information growing every day. At CleanAtlantic, we thought we should create a database to compile all this information, projects, organizations, and the resources they develop related to marine litter. In order to do so, we thought, okay, we're going to compile this information, organize it, sort it according to the different knowledge areas to make it easier for people to filter and search, and facilitating the access to data. And they are going to be available. This is not going to end here. Once the project finishes, sometimes those websites are not working anymore. In our case, The database is going to be there. It is going to be free to access. And this database has been developed thanks to the cross-border cooperation of the Clean Atlantic project and with the collaboration of the Atlantic R partners. So I'm going to talk about the methodology. I won't go in depth about it because I don't want to take your time, but we identified the sources of information, which are European, international, national projects from countries of the Atlantic Arc, and key organizations devoted to marine litter. From these sources of information, we identified the resources that they developed, which are publicly available in their databases or websites, and we analyzed them, classified them according to different areas of knowledge. We have 16 different areas of knowledge in the database: monitoring of marine litter, modeling, awareness. We have 16. And we also classify them according to the type of resources: reports, scientific publications, databases. And finally, we conducted a validation process, contacting the coordinators of the projects to make sure that the information was correct. Sometimes they would send us additional information, other resources, and we also contacted the organizations to ask for their permission to publish this information. As I said, it is already available publicly in their databases, but we wanted to ask them for permission. And sometimes they would change or modify some of the resources we had identified. I would like to highlight here that our database includes a significant sample, given the huge volume of information available. Of that knowledge concerning marine litter, we have followed a series of criteria to compile the information concerning projects, informations, organizations. So, as I said, this information was publicly available, focused on marine litter, and it had to be in the languages of the Atlantic R countries. These are the figures, the current data at the Clean Atlantic Knowledge Tool. We have more than 200 projects identified at European and national level, 120 organizations, and of these two information sources, we extracted 981 resources, divided into 16 categories and 15 resource types. The database Clean Atlantic Knowledge Tool is available at our website, the project's website. So I'm going to show you a little bit how it is distributed, how information is distributed in the website. We are going to access the website, and as you can see at the home page, you can access the inventory of projects, organizations, and resources. If you click on the projects page, you can see the 210 projects that we have. And for each of them, well, you can access them and you get a information sheet and the resources that were received. You can click maybe on one of the projects. Okay, so this is the information sheet and the resources we have identified, and you can click on the resources and you would have a description of each of them. We have something interesting in this database, which is a link verification tool. So every day, all the links in the database are checked, verified, and we get a report of those that are not working or are down, and we try to fix them. Also, the database creates a backup of all the PDF links and documents. So when those websites are not working, the resources are still available because we offer the link to the backup. Then on projects, organizations, and resources, if you click on resources, there it is. If you scroll down on statistics, the database offers graphs of these searches that are selected. These are updated with the resource filtering, and we would get a graph with the number of resources per knowledge areas. The same in projects and organizations. You can filter and you simplify the information. Going back to the presentation, in order to disseminate and promote the database of CleanAtlantic, we created a leaflet that is available at the CleanAtlantic website. And there you have all of this summarized, the methodology, the resources classification, functionalities, the different figures concerning the projects, organizations, resources, how they are classified. And I also wanted to tell you that both the database and leaflet are available online at the project website at Maps and Databases. And also, we have developed another leaflet where we summarized all the products that were created within the framework of CleanAtlantic. This is also available online. And with this leaflet, the results and outcomes of the projects are classified according to the types of resources, and you can click on each of them. And well, that's it. Thank you very much. And I am available if you have any question. Thank you.
Pues muchas gracias, Raquel. Vamos a dejar las preguntas para el final.
Okay, thank you very much, Raquel. We're going to leave questions for the end of the session. We're going to move on now to the next presentation. It's going to be given by our dear friends from France, from Marine Paul de CEDRE. Marine Paul from CEDRE, which is an institution that we've been cooperated with for a long time now, and she's going to be telling us about another way to capture and to make knowledge accessible. So we're going to be talking about that platform that I've created for accessing relevant stakeholders, measures, and initiatives. So you have the floor. Thank you.
The work we did for the CleanAtlantic project extension for the work package 4, marine litter in Atlantic area, action 4.2, stakeholders characterization and initiative tackling marine litter in the Atlantic area. I would like to thank the CleanAtlantic partners helping us during this work and all the actors who took part in this survey. So, to start, we can notice that the number of initiatives, measures and action to reduce the litter in the marine environment have increased a lot last recent years. These initiatives can be similar from a country to another. Some can be more specific or more innovative. So, who does what? What are the actors contributing to reducing the presence of marine litter? And what are the initiatives tackling marine litter in the Atlantic area? To answer this question, for the CleanAtlantic 1 project, we decided to create an inventory of the initiative, measure and action using an online survey translated in 4 languages, in Spanish, in Portuguese, in English and in French, disseminated in the 5 Atlantic areas country with the help of a national relay during 45 days. As you can see, a total of 391 initiatives, measures and action have been identified across the area project. 5% of this initiative has been recorded in Ireland, 10% in the UK, 45% in France, 25% in Spain, and 16% in Portugal. All these initiatives, measures, and action were classified into categories, subcategories, type, and subtype. In 2018, the main categories are cleanup recovery, with 33% of the total of the initiative, awareness raising with 27%, and observation monitoring with 24% of the total. As you can see on this graph, there is some differences between the country. For example, the main category in Spain is awareness raising, and in Portugal, the main category is cleanup recovery. During the CleanAtlantic 1 project, the CED has created an interactive platform where all the initiative, measures, and action are compiled. This platform can give a global view of the initiative across the area project, but also some more specific view. For example, you can search the number of initiatives per country or per category. So, for the CleanAtlantic Extension project, we decided to improve and update the work done before. For that, we updated the online survey, translated it in the 4 languages again, disseminated it in the 5 Atlantic areas country with the help of a national relay during 1.5 months. So, if we have a look at the result, a total of 90 initiative, measures, and action were identified with the updated online survey. 3% of them were identified in the UK, 8% in Ireland, 69% in France, and 20% in Spain. Like for the first survey, all the initiative, measures, and action were classified into the same category, subcategory, type, and subtype. And for the updated data, the main category are observation monitoring with 31% of the total, cleanup recovery with 30%, awareness raising and circular economy with 18% each. In details, the most represented subcategory is cleanup operation on shoreline. As you can see on this graph, the cleanup recovery category is divided into 6 subcategories, and the cleanup operation on shoreline is one of them. The second most represented subcategory is litter survey operation on shoreline. As you can see too, the observation monitoring category is divided in 6 subcategories, and the litter survey operation on shoreline is one of the 6 subcategories. To finish, the platform has been updated too. Now you can find on it 478 initiative, measures, and action. As you can see on this picture, the initiatives are represented with a point, and the different colors show the different category. Yellow is for awareness raising category, orange circular economy category, blue cleanup recovery category, pink observation monitoring, and gray policy. On this platform, you can search for initiative by country, by category, by actor involved, by target, and by registration date. And when you click on a point, there is an information window pops up. This platform is available on CleanAtlantic website. I don't know if it is possible to go on the CleanAtlantic website.
It's maybe challenging.
Yes, yes, yes. Go on map database, please. and Clean Atlantic Initiative Database. This is the interactive platform. As you can see, there is the map with the location of the initiative. On the right panel, there was the number of initiatives and the categories. On the top panel, you can search, for example, if you go in the category column. Yes, you click on cleanup recovery, for example, and you show on the map the localization of the cleanup recovery. So you can, there is a lot of search possible, and if you click on a point, on a blue point, for example, on the map, you can click, yes, yeah, muy bien, you can click on it. There is an information window. You can click on, I don't know, Libera project, for example. Yes, on the E. Yes. And there is the information window with the name of the initiative, the name of the organization. If you click on the name, the organization website and the initiative website open, and there is all the initiative information. For example, the category of the initiative is cleanup recovery. The subcategory is cleanup operation on shoreline. The type is citizen cleanup. The subtype manual, the target beach litter, and the actor involved volunteers. So that's all for my demonstration. We can come back on the presentation. Thank you for your attention. And to learn more, there is the final report available on the Clean Atlantic website. So thank you very much.
Okay, pues muchísimas gracias, Marín, por esta fantástica demostración.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful demonstration. And as you have seen, we at Clean Atlantic wanted to develop knowledge, but we also wanted to make the best use possible of all the generated knowledge, and this is why we have these initiatives to make this knowledge accessible. We're going to move on now to the next presentation, which is going to be given by Mathilde Maure from the CRPM. Mathilde has just joined the project recently, but it's like she's been with us for ages now. So she's going to be telling us about what we call the policy toolkit that has been developed specifically for regional and local authorities. So Mathilde, whenever you're ready.
To wait a few seconds.
Perfect, thank you. So good morning, I am Mathilde Maure, so I am from the CPMR, the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions, and especially from the Atlantic Arc Commission of this association. So we are, as I said, an association regrouping 150 regional authorities, and we were created in 1973. We act mainly as a lobby in favor of the regions on European legislations, especially on maritime affairs. And we also act as a forum and an exchange place between regions on all topics related to maritime affairs, and especially, for instance, on marine litter. We are divided in 6 geographical commissions. So there is the Atlantic Arc Commission, but we also work on other maritime regions in Europe. Thank you. So now I'm going to present you the toolkit, so the policy toolkit. So what is it for? So basically, as we said before, there is a big context around marine litter. It's a topic of main importance due to its numerous impacts on marine ecosystem as well as our own health. So basically, all partners participated to the redaction of this policy toolkit and based on the results of their actions. And based on this, we want to show you that regional and local stakeholders of the Atlantic area can fight against marine litter. So I'm going to present you the toolkit structure. So basically, in the first part, we explain a bit the global challenges at the European and international level on marine litter and why it is important to fight against it. Then second and third part, we explain a bit the project, so you can understand better what is it about, you can get to know the partners and see who did what. And in the fourth part, you can see like which are the legislation in each region, in each country. So in France, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and the UK, most of the environmental related regulations are managed by regional authorities or agencies. So we explain a bit everything about this so you can understand the global context about marine litter. And the final part, so the fifth part of the policy toolkit, is about how can regions benefit from Clean Atlantic achievement. So basically it's about presenting the results of the project and to explain how can local and regional authorities use the results to create new policies, initiatives about marine litter. So I'm going to present you a few examples of those policies that can be adopted by regional and local authorities to fight against marine litter. And there are four main thematics about this. Basically, in the policy toolkit, you can find a part about assessment, monitoring, and databases on marine litter. So the partners did several tools to monitor and create databases on marine litter. And thanks to the knowledge of those databases and those monitoring system, local actors and regional authorities, they can, for instance, get to know better marine litter, identify it, and set up ambitious policies to ban some substances and fight against, for instance, illegal dumping of waste. For instance, the Welsh government worked on a bill that made an offence for a person to supply unnecessary single-use plastic products. So this is an example of, by knowing what is bad for the environment, regional authorities can act to ban those products. It was similar in the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region, so they created a program called Très Bleu that enables the installation of tidal bins on the coastlines to increase litter monitoring. So regions can really get to monitor and know better marine litter and know how to fight against it. The second thematic of the policy toolkit is about marine litter removal and prevention. So regarding this, partners did many guidance for beach cleanups. They collaborated with coast guards and fishermen to retrieve marine litter. And based on that, based on those cooperations, what can regional authorities and local actors do? Well, they can boost citizens' engagement, develop solutions to retrieve marine litter, they can promote adapted legislation to reduce the amount of marine litter. For instance, the regional government of Galicia developed a plan called Maldimpo to protect biodiversity and marine ecosystem. And basically, fishermen organization, thanks to this plan, they carry out fishing for litter actions, and it raises awareness for fishermen, for the general public also around. So it's really interesting, and there are several possibilities. For instance, the North region also created a network of experts on marine litter and marine pollution, more generally speaking. So every type of actor and stakeholder can exchange about the different problems related to marine litter, and they can find solutions all together. The third thematic of this policy toolkit and examples are about marine litter reports and studies. So the partners, you will see later on, conducted a lot of different analyses on the impact of marine litter to get to know it better. and as well as the economic impact of marine litter. And based on all these reports and these studies, basically local actors, regional authorities, they can really use them as a support, as a basis to create new initiative, to know how to fight against marine litter. They can support change consumption, and they can also design some new legislation or taxes to reduce, for instance, plastic consumption. They can also work with economic stakeholders from the industry sector. And that's what, for instance, some Spanish autonomous regions did, such as País Vasco, Galicia, Asturias, or Andalusia. They banned smoking on their beaches, so which is really good because it shows that regions can really act to fight against marine litter, and it also raises awareness. On the other hand, a very different type of action, but also interesting. It's Brittany and Pays de la Loire regions. They filled in a legal complaint to fight against ocean pollution, and especially microbeads pollution on the beaches, against companies that were polluting. So it can also show that local actors, in this case regions, but also associations, for instance, they can really act for change, and they can use many different types of tools to fight against marine litter. So awareness campaign, legal complaints, new legislation. So it's really interesting. The last thematic of this toolkit is on educational tools. So basically partners created several games and tools, and they worked with some schools. And based on that, basically local actors, they can raise a new generation that is more aware of marine litter, and they can develop youth environmental engagement. So it's a good way to inspire regional authorities and local authorities, so that they can also create more engagement from the students' part. For instance, there is the Asturias region that developed a network of schools based mainly on recycling initiatives, so they can exchange good practices and advice on how to recycle better. And also the Pays de la Loire region in 2018 and 19 proposed a specific training for schools related to, for instance, marine energy, coastal biodiversity, and waste at sea.
So 1 minute, Mathilde.
Yes, almost done. And basically now what's next? So the policy toolkit is really easy to use. It will be available on the project's website very soon. So you can, of course, check it out. It will be in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. And really don't hesitate to read it, to use it. And I hope it shows you how you can use those advice for your local regional authorities, association at the local level. And don't hesitate if you have any question. Thank you.
So muchas gracias, Mathilde.
Okay, thank you very much, Mathilde. And since we're a little bit tight for time, we're going to move on to the next session already. And if we have questions regarding the results that have been presented so far, we're going to be tackling them later. So we're going to now move on to a much more technical session. We're going to be talking about results that are related to monitoring and data management in the realm of marine. I think that we are all aware of the importance of these monitoring programs that give us information that is very useful regarding the state of our waters, and they give us information also regarding the origin, the sources, and how measures are working or not. So we have tried to develop tools, protocols, and to generate useful results. We're going to move on now to hand over the floor to Moigne from IFREMER, who've been working with for a long time now too. She's been working hard on this project, so she's going to be telling us about the advances that have been achieved in terms of marine litter data management and monitoring tools. So you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Marisa.
So, okay. Thanks.
So, good morning. I'm Morgane Lemoine from IFREMER in France. I will present you the advances on marine litter, data management and monitoring tools. It was the work package 5 of this project. And there were lots of people involved in this work package. IO with Rueda and Pablo, Raul Montero and Paola Paretti from RDT Maure, but they couldn't attend this meeting, but they were strongly involved in this work package. Pedro Supilveda from Drota and DRAC now. Okay. Sandra Montino from DGRM from the first phase, Josie Russel, and Garbin from CETMAR. So thank you to all for all of that. I will try to present all the results as I can, and I think it could be okay. Thanks. So the objective of this work package was in two workflows. So one point was the data management with the collection of the data and the storing of and the reporting of this data. And the other one was the monitoring, so to detect the presence of the marine litter and the impact on the marine organisms. So from the results of phase 1 on data management, so there was a creation of 4 tools and app. The first one was a database and the software which was developed for a sustainable management for the data which was collecting on monitoring or research, which was developed by IFREMER and which was adopted by IO and RDT. So it was a tool which was developed in first phase, and we continue in the second phase. So I will present after what's going on. The second application was an app to record data for seafloor litter developed by CEFAS, and it's developed and it works for now. The third app was a marine litter log app from CETMAR. So this app was created to facilitate and homogenizate data collection of marine litter build-up areas along the coast. This app allows the geolocalization of the zone of accumulations, their characteristics and dimensions, and you can add pictures and comments, and as well as collect specific information about the marine litter. So this app is working also. And the fourth one was a floating litter reporter app, which was developed by RDT, and I will explain after, because they continue to improve it during this extension phase, and now it works. Considering the results on the monitoring and the improvement of protocols and so on, so there were lots of paper and lots of literature that is available on the website for now. So considering the seabed litter, marine litter, there was 2 reports and assessment that was carried out by the EIO in the previous phase. So assessment between Troll Gears, BACA and GOV for the study of seabed litter, and the assessment of seabed litter data recorded by scientific observers on board fishing vessels. For the floating litter, we had an optimized protocol and templates for monitoring floating litter by Apex Predator from IAO2. Another one from the seasonal cycle of anthropogenic micro and mesolitter in surface waters in coastal environment from IAO2. Monitoring floating microlitter in offshore waters by manta trawl from IAO. And RDT use a new tool which is UIS-based remote sensing to monitor also floating litter. So it was also a report on that. And the CEFAS made a report also on monitoring the presence of marine litter in the marine environment, potential of remote sensing too. Considering the beach litter in CETMAR had produced a report on analysis and strategies for the monitoring and evaluation of accumulations of marine litter on the coast. So all these products are available now on the website. There were also an opinion article which was written from RDT, DRAC, and OSPA, and so that's it for the monitoring. Lots of tools and lots of reports on this topic. Considering monitoring interaction in first phase, so there was report and scientific papers on ingestion. So CEFAS was really prolific also on this topic. So they've made available a protocol for the observation of microplastic in biota. A paper on microplastics in poor beagle sharks. IAO made also several papers on ingestion of plastic, of debris in fishes, benthic and pelagic fishes, and IAO also considered also deep fish species and the microplastic occurrence in it. Considering the impact on marine organisms. So at IFREMER, we proposed a protocol for the observation of marine organisms that are entangled, strangled, and covered by marine litter during ROV operations. So that is the products from the previous phase. And for now, I will present you what we've done in this extension phase. So considering data management and database, so at IFREMER with the partner involved, so we could deploy the database in the institutes, in two institutes, IO and RDT, who were okay for the application of this database. So they could enter their data from different programs, monitoring or research, and they could also use the tool of the creation of the referentials. And so they have improved this use. We've done also daily products with extractions, and these are available to the partners. What is important to say on developing database and environmental tools that the operational maintenance of database and tools associated is a continuous process that requires the dedicated team for IT issues and developments, and also referentials administration. So that's not an easy way to gather the data and to keep them sustainable. So perhaps in the next call and so on, we could improve it, and we could accompany the partners to improve the use of this database. Considering the development of the apps, so RDT improved and finished the Marine Litter Reporter app, where there is lots of engagement of stakeholders, and so everybody which are on the sea for diving or for navigation, for sailing, can use this app to be actors. So it's a really good citizen app to involve all the population and to raise awareness about the citizens which are using the sea. So it's available on iOS and Android to be uploaded. So what's new on the monitoring the presence of marine litters? So it's still a study from RDT and DRAC. RDT used a drone for monitoring accumulation areas to complement the beach monitoring. So DRAC is responsible at Madeira for the beach litter monitoring scheme, complementing it with cleanup in remote accumulation sites with analysis and quantities of probable activity origin. So they have 10 monitoring sites since 2020, and they applied the OSPOR guidelines. They have remote accumulation sites with 26 cleanup events, and they removed 3.6 tons of marine litter since 2021, which were mostly related to sea, 57%, and mostly originated far away. So considering the remote accumulation sites, we can say that the fishing gear was the most marine litter that was present on these accumulation sites, and after the navigation, the general plastics. So this retrieval from marine litter was also made with observation with drone from RDT. So they've made several flights to observe and to have the knowledge of what happened on this area that are not really accessible. So they can have a picture of and videos from you can see here on the videos how they could have a structure from a photogrammetry to generate 3D models for the analysis. So you can see here how they manage and how they could access more easily to inaccessible sites. So the complementary of using drone and the accumulation areas are really important to have the density and to recognize where are the problems on the Madeira Islands with no accessibility. So here you have the maps of the density of the marine litter presence. And so I think that there will be a report on the website on this study, and so it will be very interesting to go deeper on this new tool. So considering monitoring interaction, so we had two studies on this new extension. So one was on mussels as a bioindicator for microplastic pollution. So this will the next presentation that I will show you with Josie from CEFAS, and I will just present you first. Results from another study that we've made also with RDT from Madeira, considering the implementation of the protocol with the ROVE campaigns, so the videos that we analyzed to try to consider the impact of marine litter on marine organisms on the seafloor. So we took the protocol that we developed and the observation sheets, and we choose campaigns with HROV Ariane, which is an engine from IFREMER, which hold HD video cameras and digital pan tilt cameras. So on these campaigns, we try to observe the different images and the different videos where we could find marine litter and where we could find impact of marine litter on marine organisms. Donc, so the Pac-Man campaigns took place in 2021 in the I don't know if I can have the laser. I don't know. Yeah. Perhaps with the no, I don't have the mouse. Okay. So here you have the Bay of Biscay and the south of Celtic Sea, and the other one was the Sheriff campaigns, where we analyze one dive, and Pac-Man we analyze the 9 dives. So the first results. So we use a Beagle video annotation tools. Beagle videos annotation tools. It was very relevant for the application because it's a free online software for annotation of still images and videos, which was developed by the Center of Biotechnology and Bielefeld University. And this annotation tool allows to share videos, images, and common laboratories at international level. So we could share our own laboratories on marine litter categories, on the behavior, and so on, the impacts and the interaction. So we created our own laboratories with RDT, and so we could have the exercise to make the annotation from different institutions. So we can have a sort of observation bias that we can try to avoid after. So the French results considering Pacman 2021. So we find 87 liters, including 41 in dive 10, and this dive 10 is the farthest from the coast on the continental slope. So what it is, yeah, very interesting, I think, to go deeper in these results. So almost the majority is fishing-related items, so for 47% glass after and plastic, and we just saw one interaction with crinoids. So here you have some pictures of this marine litter. So you can find here the plastic bags. So you have also the depths where you find the different marine litter. So you have depths at 300, 400. The fishing line and the plastic cup are more 100 meters depth, and so on. So for the moment, we need a crucial information on the width of the camera, and so we could calculate the density. So it's an information that we need to gather with our colleagues. So we will improve the analysis of all the density of the marine litter in the coming weeks. From Sheriff dive, so the only dive that we analyzes showed 6 marine litters, which was also fishing-related items, 1 ceramics and 1 onshore, and we observed 3 interactions with the cnidargens. Sorry. So here you have the pictures of all these marine litter, and that means that we just have 1.71 item per linear kilometer, which is not really representative, but it's a first gift. It's a first figures. Sorry. So that's for IFREMER action. So at RDT, so they deployed their ROV for remote detection, and I don't think that I will go into all the whole video, because it will be very long. But just to show you what they deployed on the water, on the sea floor. So they use also the Beagle annotation tool to try to have the same harmonized annotation, and to be able after to compare how we annotate the different videos, and what is how we see in different countries this work. And they've made 5 dives per habitat. Because they don't have the positioning of the ROV. Okay, I will finish. Thanks. So they've made their own their own program on the observation, considering the different target habitats, so sandy, ridge, and slope, and they saw what's under the sea, and so that's the abundance that they could find. And also the different interaction that they could observe, and the biotope also, where the marine litter was. So it's also a study that is not finished for the moment, so we need to improve some results very, very quickly in the coming weeks also. So we hope that it could be okay for July. So the next step is the comparison videos annotation between the 2 institutes, the feedback from the use of the Beagle annotation tool, and the analysis to improve with the width of the ROV camera. So that's it. That's for the program for the coming weeks. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Morgan, for the big effort to integrate all the results for all your strong collaboration during the project. So thank you. So I think that our next presentation will be a joint presentation. So Josie can sit here. Okay, so for the next presentation, we are going to have the results of a study of using mussels as bioindicator for the presence of microplastics in the marine environment. So we have Morgan again, and this is the result of a strong collaboration between different partners. So we are lucky to have here Josie Russel from CEFAS, also a strong and very collaborative partners that will present together with Morgan. So Josie and Morgan, the floor is yours.
Thanks. And additionally, filter feeders are often considered a group of biota most at risk of ingesting microplastics. So lastly, mussels are near the shore species so that they can be sampled by hand without the need of costly boat time. So that's why, for all the reasons that we choose the mussels as to test as bioindicators. So what was done, so the mussels was collected separately by the partners as part of the existing surveys to ensure monitoring could be cost effective. 7 stations were selected in UK, 15 in France and 5 in Spain. These locations offered the best geographical spread for each region and a recommended minimum of 25 individuals were collected per station. So considering the simple process, so the mussels were dissected, removed, and the byssal threads were removed. Prior to microplastic extraction, the tissues were rinsed with clean water, because 50% of microplastics in mussel samples are there to the tissue surface and not ingested. Considering the macroliter extraction, so standardization of protocols was not possible, but a harmonized approach was agreed with CEFAS, IFREMER and IEO. So CEFAS analyzed UK mussels individually from 7 stations, whilst IFREMER analyzes Spanish and French samples as 3 replicates of 20-gram pooled samples. Both labs use potassium hydroxide-based digestion method, followed by a staining while Nile red. And the fluorescent particles were counted and analyses for FTIR and Raman spectroscopy, FTIR before and Raman spectroscopy for analysis of polymer. A minimum of 10 particles were chosen for polymer identification in each country. So to ensure the results generated by these 2 methods were comparable, an additional 20-25 mussels were collected from Lyme Bay in the UK. and they were sent to IFREMER and compared to the result generated at CEFAS. So we've done this sort of intercomparison exercise. So we've done also control, the colleagues done also control for contaminations. So because airborne microplastics pose a threat of contamination to samples, so to avoid overestimating the amount of plastic in samples, we minimize the potential for contamination and reduce counts according to what is present in the laboratory blanks. So the mean value of microplastics in blanks were calculated, and each individual and replicate was corrected by this mean. So to avoid overestimating the contamination, only microplastic matching the type found in blanks were removed. By example, if white fibers were in control, the mean amount of these were removed per sample. So the comparisons was from the Lime Bay analyzed by CEFAS and IFREMER, see the potential differences of the resulting from the methodologies. The results show that IFREMER identify a greater number of microplastic, both per individual and per gram. So that's an issue to improve. But we have several hypotheses. A few possible reasons could be that mussels were not measured prior to shipping, and they may have been generally smaller. So accounting for the difference in the amount and material analyzed in each lab. So another explanation is a loss of intervalvar liquid as samples defrost. So that's yes, we have lots of hypotheses. So we need to go further in this comparisons. But you will see that the results are good for thanks to this analysis. So I will leave the floor to Josie for the UK results.
Thanks, Morgan. That only a small number of the individuals were contaminated, and this is in line with concentration that's seen in other biota, such as fishes. Taking into account the FTIR data, which I'm going to talk about shortly, we described 3% of individuals ingested microplastic compared to microlitter, which with the microlitter it included semi-synthetic materials also like radon. We found for all regions, or we're going to have a look, smaller microlitter items were more abundant. And this is to be expected with filter feeders, which are selectively or passively retaining particles within a set size range. The smaller particles are expected to have a greater potential for negative impacts. And the UK dataset, 2 mesolitter items greater than 5 millimeters were recorded, and these were excluded from the counts and analysis. The most common forms of litter in UK mussels were fragments, followed by fibres. This is in contrast to the abundance of fibres in other biota, such as fish. A study by Porter et al. This year demonstrated that feeding mechanisms strongly influences what type of particles can be ingested. For the marine worm Hedist diversicolor, which can filter and deposit feed fragments, were commonly ingested. We also found that the majority of particles were clear or white, and this really highlights the importance of using screening techniques such as Nile Red, which make these otherwise really difficult to detect, these particles. The most common litter items in the UK were acrylic, polypropylene and radon. Similar material are found in UK fish and sediment. Overall, it can be seen that polymer diversity is high, reflecting the variety of sources and input into coastal environments. Oh, I'll pass back for the French results.
Just this slide. So for the polymer identification and the results for France as a primary, not with the first results. So you can say that we've got 92 microplastics in the 340 mussels that we analyzed. So that means that 26% of the mussels were impacted. And we used the Raman spectroscopy to analyze 14 plastic particles, where we detected a wide variety of polymers, such as polyethylene, polyacrylonitrile, polyester, and so on. So, as well as 37 particles for which only the pigment of synthetic origin was identified. So there were lots of fiber also, where most common materials were cellulosic derivatives, pigment, and synthetic, so plastic. So most of the fibers are not in plastic. That's a good result also, and to be challenging to know why the fiber is not in plastic but mostly in cellulose. So that's first results. Thanks.
So when we look at the microlitter per individual for the UK, there was average contamination in the mussels was 0.27 items per individual, with all stations falling within one standard deviation of this. And both the highest and the lowest concentrations were found at the Menai Straits. Similarly, in France, average contamination per individual was 0.26 items. And again, most sites, similar values were observed. There was a hotspot identified at Le Passage, which had a mean concentration of 1.5 items per individual. Also looking at Spain, the concentrations were higher than average concentration of 0.88 microplastics per individual. There was high variability in the concentrations between the different Spanish stations, and hotspots were found in the North Spanish coast. When looking at statistical analysis to try and see whether we can look at any comparison between the three countries and the samples of mussels that we looked at, we didn't find any significant difference, but we really need to look at more sites and more samples to better understand this relation between the different countries. And this map here demonstrates the similarity in concentrations observed between the regions, with one or two hotspots in each country. So looking at the meta-analysis conducted by Danopoulos et al., we can determine the results from the present study do fall within the expected limits, but they're typically lower than the global average, which is between 0.57 and 0.71 items per gram. And so from a UK perspective, this present study shows that our results are quite low in comparison to other studies. However, we have to note that we only looked at fluorescent particles and included that in the analysis in this report. And so we know concentrations are much higher when we include the non-fluorescent items. And so we plan to do this in the future, but we didn't do this so that we could make a fair comparison between the different countries in this study. And in the French context, again, with these previous studies, the current study is within the same or similar range. And in the Spanish context, it's slightly lower than previous studies, but there isn't a great difference in the results that we found from this study. So now we have some initial results. We're going to report on them as part of this CleanAtlantic project. In the UK, we plan to analyse these non-fluorescent particles, which might have been missed, to really try and understand this microlitter. For France, again, also going further in the microplastic analysis, we're going to feed this study. There's a lot of work at regional level and other levels looking at how we can better understand the harm that microplastics have on the environment, and look at potential indicators on ingestion or entanglement, including this indicator potentially to better understand it. And we hope to publish the study nationally and the regional comparison so that it's peer-reviewed literature. Thank you.
That will be given by Josie. So Josie, now we will show the results of the assessment study on seafloor litter top 10 items. So I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. So Josie, come on.
Thanks, Marisa. This is very much more in line with my expertise, so thanks for my colleagues who did all the work on the microplastics. But yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we found from our analysis looking at seafloor litter in the European seas to try and identify what the top items that we collect from our monitoring programme. So we know the seafloor is a sink for marine litter. It's estimated that millions of tons of litter end up in the sea, and about 70% of them sink to the seafloor. So it's a really important environment that we need to better understand. However, it's not as easy to understand what's on the seafloor as it is potentially on beaches or floating at the top. So it can be quite expensive to investigate. There are quite a few different research techniques that can be used, including snorkeling or scuba diving surveys. I'm going to be talking more about the trawl surveys that we mainly use for the monitoring, and also looking to the future of how we might look at seafloor, also better understanding opportunities from looking at videos, using ROVs, and understanding sonar as well. So we know that large amounts of plastic litter is reported in the European continental shelf areas. The monitoring program that we have, there are various different ones in Europe. I'm particularly involved with the OSPAR marine litter monitoring program, and with that, what we do is we collect litter on the back of fisheries trawls. So we collect the fish and look at that for fish stock assessments, but we also collect the litter and count it and categorize it using these ICES technical guidelines and inputting it into a database, so each country can do that and we can try and compare what people are finding on the seafloor. There are some advantages and quite a few limitations, which I'll go into a bit more details about. But this work is supported by various expert groups, including the ICES Working Group on Marine Litter and also the OSPAR Seafloor Litter Expert Group. So lots of people and lots of scientists getting together to talk about how this information can be used and can be used to inform policy. So I'll touch the limitations first, because it's often a conversation with this method. So our main objective for these surveys is to monitor fish stocks and to understand them, not to look at litter. So we really need to take that into account when we're looking at the data. The current method is actually pretty bad at estimating how much litter by quantity is on the seafloor. It also very much underestimates the smaller items. We're measuring litter with something with big net holes in the net, so we're not going to catch everything, and we know that, so we have to be clear that that's what it represents. Also, there's a lot of different gear types in each country, and for different surveys that are used, and these collect litter as they do fish in slightly different ways, so we need to take that into account when we're making the assessment. We're only looking at data that covers these trawlable areas and soft sediment, so we don't cover the deeper or the nearer inshore areas, or those rocky areas where litter might accumulate. We know that the method underestimates also heavier items, and we don't know what the future of trawling will be, so we need to look at new innovation and technology to really understand the seafloor. Now I've got over those limitations, why do we still do it with all of that? So because it's on the back of fisheries surveys, it's cost effective, it's cheaper than other methods. The trawls, they give a really good spatial cover. We have surveys that are happening already every year, so we're able to explore the spatial and temporal trends. And from the last assessment, we've started to really try and pull out some of those top items so we can start to feed that into what we're finding on the seafloor. So as the first phase of Clean Atlantic, we very much connected the work with an assessment we were already trying to do for OSPAR. So it meant that we could investigate a little bit further with this. So it's part of a quality status report, which is a 10-year assessment. This is published. It's on the Clean Atlantic website, linked, and also on the OSPAR website under the assessments as a seafloor indicator assessment. Our main findings were that the litter is widespread across the areas that we assessed. Fisheries-related items and plastic materials were the most common. The Bay of Biscay and the Iberian coast had higher probability of litter collected than both the Greater North Sea and the Celtic Sea. So we looked at these 3 different regions where we had enough data. And we looked at trends and tried to see what we could see. The only area where we could show a significant trend was the Greater North Sea, where we could show that the probability of litter collected has increased over the years. So this is just a sentence to summarize maybe an 80-page assessment for those who really are interested in seafloor litter can read it. We also tried to see how we could visualize that really long assessment for some people that might want to pick out some of those top messages. So we created this infographic, again, trying to link it to policies and these top items that are collected again to pick out some of those key messages and the next steps to fill the evidence gaps that we could identify from all of this work. So that was the first phase, and in the second phase of Clean Atlantic, we had a really great opportunity to use this work and as far as we had got, but to look at it a little bit further. So we decided to also include the Baltic Sea, which is in the OSPAR region, so that we could have a better picture of European seas and try and make a bit of a comparison wider than the OSPAR region. We wanted to look in a little bit more detail about these top items and see, you know, how they compare to each area, what they are, and what we can know about them, really. So we just looked at gov trawls, apart from the Baltic Sea, which was the additional area. This actually uses a slightly different gear, so I'm not sure how directly comparable it is, but it's really interesting still to look at what the top items are. And we used a Bayesian approach, was the statistic method, to quantify the variation in the item ranking, so that we could basically be a little bit more sure on what those items ranks are in the top 10 items. We found that the 3 OSPAR regions, the Greater North Sea, the Celtic Seas, and the Bay of Biscay and Iberian coast, the top 10 items are pretty similar. You can see there are some nice highlighted colours in this table, which is a bit overwhelming with a lot of items, but grey represents ropes. The blue is those which might be related to fishing activities, and the yellow is single-use plastics, such as plastic bags, plastic caps, and plastic bottles. And so you can see there are similarities between particularly the 3 OSPAR regions. The items found in the Baltic Sea were slightly different, so again it's something we can further investigate in future work to try and better understand. Hopefully you can see these. They're quite small, but again, they're color-coded, so you can pick out some of those categories. But this is us looking at, so A is the Greater North Sea, B is the Celtic Sea, C is the Bay of Biscay and Iberian coast, and D is the Baltic Seas. So if you have a look at A, you can see that instead of listing it as number 1 and 2, synthetic rope and sheets are pretty much with the confidence interval about a joint number 1. So it just changes the ranking slightly and gives us a bit more confidence in the results that we're talking about. We also had a look at whether the gear actually does make a difference. It does make a difference, but when we were looking in the context of these that we're talking about, we found so beam trawls, they generally dig a little bit more into the seafloor, whereas gov trawls might bounce slightly over the surface. So they fish slightly differently, but actually when we look at these top 10 items, there wasn't really a significant difference between the items that were collected. So again, it's just building on that evidence that we know that we can make some comparison in our assessment between different gear types. So this paper has been submitted and it's under review, so fingers crossed. But hopefully it will just be another piece of evidence that can really try to inform policy. We made some nice infographics again to try and make the messages really clear. And it's all coming down to what are these assessments for? What's the point of them? We want to use them to inform decision makers on the current state of seafloor litter. So it was really important to try and pull out these top items. I think previous work on beach litter has really shown how this can be beneficial. Articles such as those looking at the top items on beach litter have really been used to inform policy at regional and national level, things like the single-use plastic directive. So again, this is just bringing in also another dimension of our marine litter to try and understand. And as we develop other indicators, we can do that also in other ways. But these single-use plastics, yeah, those top 3 items were the plastic bags, bottles, and bottle caps. And then when we talk about the seafloor litter, I think one of the important findings is that a lot of what we found was relating to fisheries or maritime. Ropes and things are quite difficult to say where they come from, so we can't say it's definitely fisheries related. But I think this is important as there's a lot of focus on sometimes the figure that, 80% from land and 20% from sea, but our assessment actually does show that it's really important to still consider these sea-based sources when we're trying to tackle marine pollution. And so this is kind of just the final slide to summary the importance of this monitoring data and how we can use it to inform policy to really understand whether objectives or strategic direction is kind of being met, whether we are reducing marine litter and having an impact with all the measures that are put in place. So yeah, that's a little summary, but do read more information if you're interested. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Josie, for such a nice and interesting presentation. So I think that we have reached the end of this session that before the coffee break, and we have some time. So I wonder if there are any comments or questions from the audience or perhaps from remote participants. Not? Okay, go ahead. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Cintia Gomez, and I come from Universidad de Vigo. And I was wondering, when you identify the top litter items, you are doing it by units, by numbers, or by mass, or by size, by dimensions?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question, actually, because with a lot of the assessments, I kind of didn't go into it in detail because it's very complex because of all the variabilities. So when we look at seafloor, we actually often look at it by probability. And so that's probability that we collect items in the net every time we go and haul the litter. So it's not by count. In the future, we really want to move towards count. And there's been a lot of work on the quality of the data and understanding the methods so that we can do that with future data. But for the data that we used, we weren't confident enough to use the counts.
Questions or comments? Okay. So I know that we have a lot of experts in the room. Marta, would you like to say something? Come on. We need the microphone.
Yes, it's not a direct question for Josie, but about all the tools that you have talked about in the first table, I find them very valuable. And my question is if you are thinking of kind of maintenance of those, because it's really worth it to try to update them and keep them updated, on time.
Yes, well, I think that this is a key issue in this kind of products, because, well, obviously you need to keep them updated and operational. So how are we going to do that? So, well, as I mentioned, we submitted another proposal, okay, dealing with gaps, remaining gaps. So, well, if we are successful, well, of course, we will spend some time on improving and upgrading these products. But if not, as I already mentioned in my first intervention, we have this willingness to keep the network we have created. Okay, so our idea is to in an informal way, okay, even without funding, we are going to keep this network alive with specific objectives. And one of our key actions will be to keep all these online products updated, okay. So it's not a trivial task, but most of us will keep our involvement in this field, okay. So the idea is, well, to establish some not very heavy but important commitments in terms of keeping all the results operational and updated. I'm sure we're going to manage. Okay. Okay, so any more comments? Any comment on technologies? Because we have here, I can see Juan Pablo that is here, there. I always use him. Okay, because I know that you have a lot of experience on using, for example, drone technology. You are really very familiar and very expert on this issue. Would you like to add something or to comment something?
You're going to make me blush if you keep talking so highly. No, I was just asking with my name is Juan Pablo Pérez from Asociación Vertidos. So I was wondering, we are currently working in an ongoing project, several years, working with troll fishermen regarding litter of cats with their normal fishing operations. I was actually wondering if for your data, for your samples, you use material for your own fishing campaigns, as you mentioned, together with evaluation of fish stocks, or if you maybe have some kind of complementary data from collaborating fishermen, for instance.
Question, actually, because it's something that we've definitely thought about and is a really good idea for the future to explore. At the moment, the assessment is on monitoring data, so it's submitted by each country, and it's on research vessels as part of these stock assessments. However, there are other schemes like the Fishing for Litter and other schemes which do collect data. At the moment, we don't use it. We don't know as much about that data. And because of already lots of limitations in the current data, we're not at the moment using it. But it's definitely something we could look into the future. And I think, understanding that would be really great.
Yeah, and actually I also think it's not really that groundbreaking because, for instance, we at least here in Spain, we do have existing cooperations in these monitoring programs, but for beach litter, for complementary data obtained through citizen science and other ongoing projects, that's something that Marta can also talk to us about. So that was something I was wondering, because we have such a wealth of information from this kind of fishing for litter operations and fishing for litter projects that could really provide so much data for this kind of assessments.
Yeah, I do completely agree. I think, citizen science is great. It's not only collecting some data, but it's also really raising awareness and getting people thinking about the issue, which is kind of halfway to trying to tackle it. And I think that, the data potentially could be used as long as it's very clear on what the data is and where it comes from. Monitoring data, we have certain sites we revisit at certain times of the year constantly over a period of time. system, and that's why we're able to tell certain things from it. So we just need to be careful with kind of what data and understanding it and how we're using it if we do look at other data as well.
Thank you very much for your answer.
Okay, so Marta, would you like to say a few words about the monitoring program in Spain? Because, well, this afternoon we will hear about a very, very ambitious project, but... Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Just a couple of ideas on how we have designed our marine litter monitoring strategy in Spain. This is in compliance with the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. And we have 8 different monitoring programs that are trying to comply with these primary and secondary criteria that are in the European regulation. So we are addressing macro litter on beaches, floating macro litter, and also on the seabed. And this is the information that it is reported to OSPA and the one that Josie is using in these regional assessments. And then we are also doing micro litter on beaches, and I think that this one is quite unique in Spain as an official monitoring program. So we have our methodology that we've designed for that. And also microliter on the surface and on the seabed, on sediments. And well, on sediments, it's more like a research one in this moment. It's not totally mature. But well, these are the main micro and macroliter addressing the status of the marine environment. And then we have another 2, which are addressing marine litter on biota. And we have started with turtles, because this was an agreement with the southern countries in Europe to start using turtles to address entanglement and ingestion. So we are working on that, and the citizen science, because we think that these kind of monitoring programs are also have a lot of potential, as Josie already said. So they are everywhere. I mean, citizens are everywhere. They can really, if the way they take the data is a bit standardized. And knowing about the limitation and what you already are getting, I think it can be used. But from our point of view, at least by the moment, these data are separated from the other official data flows, because as Josie already said, it's very relevant that you know what data are, understand how you've taken them and everything. But in the end, we have, a pool of data flows with data coming, and I think more and more we are doing better assessments. And now we're working in the 3rd assessment that we have to present to the European Commission beginning of 2024. So well, a lot of challenges, but from cycle to cycle, our assessments are better. And of course, very relevant, the regional assessments that both OSPAR and the Mediterranean Sea in Barcelona Convention are doing. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Marta. So I think if there are no more comments, Pedro, come on.
Hi everyone. For those of you who doesn't know me, I'm Pedro Sepulveda from the regional government of Madeira Island. I would just like to pick on the words of Marta, but people are everywhere. And regarding the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, the assessments are generally where people are. So talking about limitation of that evaluation of the status of the environment, we are still lacking lots of places. And we're speaking about the ocean. We can only evaluate coastal areas, and with trawling we can only evaluate what's happening in shallow waters. But the ocean is so much more than this and so much depth than this. So we still need to investigate. And this is to highlight the importance of these kind of projects that look into new methodologies, new areas, where at first it's just a glance, just first insight of, and most of the time we spent looking into what we don't know. and not really what we know. But we'll get there. So just to highlight this, thanks.
Okay, so thank you for this comment. Okay, so if there are no more comments, I think that we deserve a coffee. Okay, so now we have a coffee break for half an hour. So please come back in half an hour to the room. So thank you.